So, today I wanted to just talk about a few things that I am always considering when filming documentaries as a cinematographer. What makes a compelling image? Well, to me, it's composition, depth, lighting, contrast, layers, scale, and color. These are the 7 things that I'm always trying to consider when I frame up a shot. Now, I learned most of all these concepts while attending USC. The class was taught by Bruce Block, and if you have never heard of him or his book, The Visual Story, then you are missing out. Quick plug, if you want to learn how to better tell a story visually, then you absolutely need to check out his book, which you can order online. I was lucky to learn from the master himself when I took his class at USC. So, without me explaining too much about the book and all the visual elements you can learn, let's just jump into the stills I have prepared, where I showcase each of these elements I mentioned. Composition. In this still, I am composing the shot with the yellow trees to give a sense of balance in the frame. The green bushes on each side help promote a healthy balance as well. Giving an image balance with composition is one way to portray what the story or character is saying within the scene. Depth. This interview was taken around the same place as the last frame I showed you portraying balance. Notice the leading lines created from the pathway behind our talent, as well as the paths running right and left from the talent. The leading lines you see from the pathway are all to give a sense of 3-dimensionality. This is a great way to make a flat 2-dimensional medium like film feel like it has depth, which gives the image interest. Or at least to me it does. What do you think? Lighting. Okay, this should be a no-brainer. Lighting is something we all know helps an image look good. But do you know why this image feels like it has depth, or at least is interesting, even though it's a relatively flat image? You see, in Bruce Block's book, The Visual Story, we learn that brighter areas of a frame feel closer and darker parts of the frame feel further. Now, I mixed the two up with this framing, but even so, you still feel the separation between the bright background and the dark foreground. And this is how I use the available lighting to give this framing interest. Contrast. Okay, another one of those same areas locations as the last, but completely different. Creating contrast with very dark shadows allows for what little light that exists to give your eye somewhere to follow. The contrast between the shadow side of this guy's face makes the brighter background much more interesting. But you wouldn't get that interest without the dark shadows. So this is how I use contrast to guide the viewer's eyes exactly where I wanted them. Layers. Layers are simply putting something between you and the subjects to give a sense of depth or perspective. I remember I ran behind a pile of literal junk or trash just to give this shot more interest. Imagine without this junk in the foreground, the subjects in the middle ground would just be in the middle of anywhere. So it's because you put something in the frame that this image is grounded in the middle of some fields with mountains in the background and junk. In the foreground, see, we just described 3 separate layers: foreground, middle ground, and background. This is why having layers is so important. To me, scale. Okay, I promise at some point you will all come across a scenario like this. You have no layers to hide behind, the sky is super blown out or bright. Contrast is impossible to add because of location or time of day. And there are no depth cues to add to the image to give it interest. So what do? Drop the camera lower and give your subject scale, make them feel bigger or smaller, and that is how you can make even this flat image look and feel more interesting. Color. Okay, this one is a bit of a stretch, not going to lie, but with the green walls and the orange floors and furniture, it helps keep your eye focused on our subject. Luckily, this location offered the triadic color scheme, which uses these 3 colors. And that's it. All 7 elements that I am constantly thinking about when filming a documentary. These 7 elements have truly transformed my work and made walking into any location less stressful, because I know that if I can implement any one of these 7 elements, I know I am guaranteed an interesting looking image. So the next time you're out filming a documentary or even narrative film, try using any one of these 7 techniques. And as always, if you enjoyed this week's vlog brought to you by AEI Maddie, you know what to do. Go ahead and do a super jump on that like button and get subscribed to the YouTube channel, because every Wednesday is a brand new video. I'm Matty Beeves, the cinematographer / student. I will see you all in 7 days. Peace.